Hey, look on the bright side, everyone. You'll have a meeting where I don't have to yell, use your microphone
Use your
at everyone.
microphone.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stay muted for the meeting, so you can still say that.
Jared, Melissa Hunt is a commissioner.
Yep, I'll be pruning her a second. Sorry, I'm adjusting
You're good.
the
I just
YouTube stream.
didn't
Oh,
know
okay.
if you knew all the names.
Yep, that one I knew. I didn't know Mike's last name.
Got it.
So I'm just turning off all the extra features on the YouTube channel right now. Yeah, so I think we need Kate and uh, Chris is another plan commissioner, isn't he?
Yep.
The live stream is up at
Live stream is up. We're live. All right.
correct. Yep.
Cool. We've got 3 minutes until we officially start.
Kristen, I had a work question I was supposed to ask you after the meeting. Can you
I
call me
can.
after?
Yeah, I will.
Thank you.
I will. I better write that down so I remember.
Perfect. Blake didn't want to make any commitments on behalf of your team.
Oh. If it's Blake, the answer is yes, whatever she wants to do.
Perfect. I'll tell her.
Oh, I see a raised hand from Mike Eastman.
Yeah, I know he wants to speak during one of the items. Mike, you don't
Okay.
have to raise your hand yet. Thank you.
Oh, so Chris is on here in his iPhone. I'm guessing he's not able. I'm trying to promote him to panelist, but he's declined it. I don't know if maybe he's not able to from his phone.
Well, we have quorum, right?
We do.
Yeah.
Oh, he's raised his hand. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Let's allow him to talk.
There we
Okay,
go.
Chris, you're able to talk right now, but you're not a panelist yet.
Okay, send me that thing again. I'm on my phone and
Okay.
I will say yes. So I'm joining as a panelist, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
There we go. Here we go. Oh, and there's Mike.
The lights just went on, literally. All right.
All right, so I'm working on promoting Mike right now, and then he's our last one.
All right.
Okay, it looks like everyone's here. Kristen, do you want me to start recording? It is 5:30.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's start recording. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Zoom. Let's call the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Kristen Runge,
Here.
Sue Springman,
Here.
Brian Wallace,
Here.
Joe Zitzelberger,
Here.
Melissa Hunt,
Here.
Chris Selner,
Here.
Mike Steinel.
Here.
Next item on the agenda is minutes. Do we have any corrections or deletions to the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Thank you.
Second.
All right. All in
Second.
favor? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comment. If you are in the audience, please raise your hand and we'll bring you in for public comment. And public comments, as always, are 3 minutes long. So do we have anybody in the audience that wants to make a public comment?
Kristen, if they have a comment on one of the items, do you want them to comment now or on the item itself?
Let's see here. We don't have a public hearing, do we?
No, we
So
don't.
please comment now. Yeah, if you have anything on the agenda that you would like to or off the agenda that you would like to comment on, now is the time.
I know Mike Eastman wanted to say something. His hand's not up.
And
There
Mike,
it
oh, here he is. All right.
Yes, I just wanted to, this was regarding the, excuse me, the zone change for the Wanakee Living Center.
Mhm.
And I just want Kristen or Lauren to know that I did look at the agenda. I reviewed the information at the, for that part of the meeting. And I think the zoning questions I have or had were answered in that document. So for now, I'll just want to listen in at this point.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, you appreciate it. All right. Does anyone else that is on the call tonight or listening and have a comment that they would like to make? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to business items. Item number 1 is discuss and take action on the site plan application for the Wanakee Middle School accessory shed at 501 South Street, and this is for final action by Plan Commission. So back to you, Lauren.
Yep. All right, you should be able to see my slides. All right, so the first item here, this is returning back to the Plan Commission. This came to you last month. This is an accessory shed at the new Wanakee Middle School. It's a site plan application. They are replacing an existing 20 by 30 storage shed with a new 20 by 40 shed. It's just north of their track that they have up on the site. The shed itself is 12 feet at height. This is consistent with our G1 zoning as we discussed at the last meeting and meets our setback requirements. Here's a site plan showing the full site plan of the proposed middle school, and then there's that shed there just north of the track. And then you can see a zoomed in version of the shed as well. And then here are some elevations of what the shed is proposed to look like. And finally, after the meeting, the applicant did connect with St. John's and discussed, their concerns, and St. John's reported back to me that their concerns have been resolved. So at this time, staff recommend approval of the proposed site plan.
All right, and rather than go around the room, we'll just open it up for comments from the plan commissioners. Do we have any comments or questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discuss and take action on a preliminary plat application for Legacy Acres at 6506 State Highway 19 in the town of Springfield, and this is for final action by the village board. So back to you, Lauren.
Right. So as Kristen mentioned, this is a new subdivision in the town of Springfield. The reason why it's coming to our plan commission is because it's in the village's extraterritorial plat jurisdiction. So as part of our review, our attorney recommends reviewing items focused on public safety. When we're reviewing extraterritorial plats, we just have to be careful on what we can or can't really review as part of our jurisdiction. Obviously, the town of Springfield also has jurisdiction and reviews several items. And they've actually approved the preliminary plat with conditions at their January 12th meeting. So the plat itself, it's right off of Highway 19. And I apologize, this is not a super zoomed in shot, so I can pull up the actual plat later. But this is a preliminary plat that has 22 lots and 2 outlots. access from Highway 19 is actually reduced down from the 3 driveways that were there before to now just that one road. So you can see that the plat includes access to those lots off of this new road that's created. You also notice that both roads in this development do dead end, but they are set up to connect to future developments. And that was a key piece for getting approval through WisDOT for this project, because there were issues with being able to get access roads from those dead ends, but they did set them up so that, you know, future development down the road could connect in. So as I mentioned before, public safety is the main item that we can provide comments and review on. So I did reach out to all of the public safety agencies. Fire is the one who provided a letter that detailed some concerns on this plat related, one, to one-way access to the development. So as I showed before, the one access road, and then dead ending. So there is a bit concerned that if access got blocked in some way, that they would not be able to access the rest of the neighborhood. Additionally, there is concern about some narrow streets in the subdivision as well. The street widths in this development are 22 feet wide, which conforms with town requirements, but not village requirements. And so there's a concern about, you know, fire apparatus navigating a narrow street like that. We did meet with the applicant on several occasions to work through some of these items. The site plan for the proposed preliminary plat did get modified to add additional pavement to the intersection of Irwin's Way and Aggie Lane to kind of add additional room for turning movement. So that was a nice addition to that. Additionally, they have, and I provided in the agenda packet, draft deed restrictions that do restrict long-term parking of large vehicles on the streets within the subdivision. The main concern being if there's lots of parking going on in the neighborhood, that makes it even more difficult for a fire truck to navigate the neighborhood. And additionally, we did discuss the dead ends and whether there were any, you know, ability to find connections. And unfortunately, the applicant was unable to gain access to neighboring properties to be able to connect on currently. But again, as I mentioned before, can be connected in the future with, you know, future development. Now this, I also included Tim Simmons' memo, which talks about the steep slope aspect. I'll recognize this is not a public safety item, and so, you know, definitely take that into consideration. But I just wanted to highlight it since it wasn't his memo. His concern was that significant portions of this plat contain steep slopes over 12% grade, and recommended moving those areas to outlots for permanent green space. The applicant was able to restrict areas that are 20% sloped from development on the plat and provided an exhibit that shows that restriction. So finally, we do recommend approval if items in this report are addressed to satisfaction of the Plan Commission, and this will go to Village Board for a public hearing.
Okay, so let's open it up for questions. There'll probably be some questions on this. And Sue, you've unmuted?
Yeah, on the streets, was there discussion about no parking on the streets because of how narrow they were from a safety standpoint?
There was discussion, and we can bring the applicant in to provide some additional information. Their thought was that likely there wouldn't be a lot of parking on the street anyway. But is there a representative from the applicant that would like to chime in on that?
Lauren, how wide are the streets in Savannah? In Waunakee?
I think they're narrower than the current requirement, but I'd have to double check that.
They are. I think we're unmuted if you.
Yeah, Beerbecker's hand is raised. Beerbecker?
How much? Because people park on the street and in the
Mhm.
curbs and stuff, it's dicey sometimes. Especially in the winter.
Yeah, so the Veerbecker team as well as the developer applicant, we're all in the room here together. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but the deed restrictions do restrict parking on the street. Do you recall the specifics of that? But it is in the deed restrictions.
It's in the deed restriction, and it's a 24-hour time period
How does that get enforced?
by the HOA.
Okay. I can say based on my experience living in such neighborhoods, the HOAs can't do anything because they got to go to court and they don't have any money to do that, but okay. And then because I do think people will park on the street when they have parties or they have people over. It just happens.
We did talk to the fire chief about that, and I mean, there are going to be times when it's a graduation party or something like that, and yeah, that is going to happen. A major difference between a development like this versus something that you'll see in the village is the width of these lots. I mean, all of these lots are over an acre in size, you know, versus lots as small as 8,000 square feet along a roadway in the village.
So do you have some requirements in terms of setback from the front so that you know that the driveways are long enough to accommodate multiple?
The town of Springfield minimum setback is 35 feet.
Okay.
So these will be longer driveways. They will most likely be wider driveways. We imagine that every house here will have over a 3-car garage, and driveways to accommodate that. Should be more than enough driveway to get, I would say, the majority of the cars attending a party off the streets.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. How have they reacted to the fact that you have 2 streets with no outlets? Because I know they've always been really concerned about, you know, a tree goes across the road, there's a disaster, people can't get out.
We talked about that with the fire chief also. The applicant, the family, the Aker family has made every single, they've done everything they can to extend the Urban's Way to the north, to no avail. I know that Sam Aker, who's here also, has worked on this for over 5 years. Part of the process with getting the MOU with the DOT and the connection to Highway 19 it was based upon that. So the cul-de-sac bulbs were made to Village of Wanakee specifications. We've done the very best that we can, but we still have the MOU with the DOT, so the DOT is on board with this plan.
It's more a fire department issue. Okay. And do you have any idea when development might occur on those adjacent parcels?
No, we don't have any control. We do know that the parcel to the northwest, owned by the Whippafirth family, that is in the town of Springfield's rural residential land use plan. So whenever they decide they want to develop it should be not any issue with the town because it's already in their land use plan for that. We tried to purchase an acre of ground from them to connect to the subdivision that's just to the west of this development to Polma Drive. Thought we were going to be able to purchase that land, and then they decided at the last minute that they didn't want to sell. It felt it wasn't in their best interest. Then there is also a vacant lot that borders our property to the west. We went to that landowner and he also would not sell.
Okay.
So we tried to connect to the west and were unable. And then to the east, that property is owned by the Culshire family, which borders the Carl's properties that were just annexed by the village. So there's only one landowner now between us and Village of Wanakee. We asked them if they had any interest or intentions in developing or in annexing, and because they have an active farming operation off of Woodland Drive now. And they want to keep farming. Plus, they have land to the north of us and to the west of the Carl's land that was just annexed that they plan to continue to farm for foreseeable future. We don't know what that time frame is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sue. Other commissioners with questions? Mike?
I guess I'll just ask, is there any ability, I think, what is it, that standard roads in Wanakee are 32 and these are 22, something to that effect? Would that road coming in off Highway 19 would it be feasible to expand that to 32 feet to match the village? Maybe increasing the odds if there is blockage of being able to get by it?
That does not meet the town of Springfield. They don't want the road being at 32 feet for both the clearing of it and the snow. All of their other roadways are 22 feet of pavement, and they do not want it for future maintenance and replacement down the road. So they are against that. What we did when we met with Tim and Lauren and the fire chief is we expanded the corners of Aggie Lane and Irvin's Way to accommodate the fire chief. He sent over radiuses for us for turn lanes, and you'll see the red area in there where we expanded the corners to accommodate fire for the chief.
I guess I'm just wondering more like between there and 19, as I trying to visualize this as I remember it, that's a pretty good hill they'll be coming up there, as evidenced by the greater than 20% grade. So, like fire trucks are going to be dealing with a pretty good incline. And then if there's any kind of blockage besides that, it just seems like if there were a way to have that wider to get even up there to where the houses are, or am I misremembering how that's laid out?
No, yes, we're cutting through, for the street section, we have to cut that in along Irvin's Way. I think we're proposing a 10% grade through there.
Yes.
To get through that and then kind of sloping back up to match in as quickly as possible and limit that disturbance. The other thing I would mention here too is, it's a 22-foot pavement section with 3-foot shoulders on each side, so we're effectively at 28 feet.
Other questions or comments, Mike?
Well, I guess the last thing, because it's wooded along there, that's like we're talking, if there would be a tornado or something and some of those trees are down, that's going to be a whole issue. Is there thoughts on trimming back the woods along both sides of that, or how's that going to work?
Yes, and inherently when you make that cut, and grade back in, you are going to be removing trees along that, disturbance limits footprint. And so, where you're going to see this slope and where we're tying in through that section that's 10%, those trees are being removed along that road section.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other commissioners?
Can I ask one last question?
Go ahead, Sue. Yeah.
I'm a little confused as to where we are with the fire district. Are we going to have to take care of this long term, or might this change?
I would plan on taking care of it long term.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And Melissa?
Yeah, I think that was kind of where I was gonna go with one of my comments is overall, I feel like most of the concerns were addressed. I know Tim had some comments about the 12% grading. I mean, technically for development, they're gonna have to follow CARP-Cs and the other rules and restrictions tied to grading, so not too concerned relative to that. And they'll have to manage each property as it's developed and may have concerns or issues there, but that's each individual property owner as some of the individual sites are developed. My only concern was the roads, and from the fire perspective is for a truck getting in there, you can say, I mean, I would assume sometimes more of our calls come about when there's graduation parties or other 4th of July, other things like that. My only concern would be, you know, some of us who even have larger lots or have friends who have larger lots, I'm not putting in there's restrictions on how much concrete you can have on a residential lot, and I'm not putting in a driveway so my friends can park. And if I have a nice grass, I'm not letting my friends park in my grass either. So just my 2 cents relative to parking. I do understand the maintenance and the concerns with snow plowing. I also think on the flip side of snow plowing, you know, as we get bigger storms and some of it comes up, it gets even narrower because we're not plowing off the edges. And if the town is doing some of that work, I know some of those roads get plowed last. So, I understand the town gets their say too, from our perspective. And since we have some of the concerns on the fire side, that would be my only major issue. I think everything else seems to be addressed accurately or within reason, what I would deem reasonable, with the exception of just how you manage the parking. If there's parties, or is there somewhere else people can get driven in, or I don't know how you address that piece. Cause I have some concerns as well, just on the, if someone would need to get in there, and it could be winter, if there's a Super Bowl party and we have a lot of snow and, or something like that, you know, in summertime as well.
Yeah, and there's one other thing I'll point out, on Aggie Lane, where the vast majority of the driveways will connect. I mean, all of the lots that border Aggie Lane, we're gonna force the driveway onto Aggie Lane, with the possible exception of lot 9. And that is pretty flat up there. There's very little slope change. So the ability to, you know, clear snow off is going to be pretty easy. You know, we're not going to be plowing into a hillside or a bank. And for people to pull off and park, again, you're not going to be, you know, off into a steep ravine there. So I think, you know, when people park, they'll be able to get off the road. It's a pretty easy area to navigate, being relatively flat up on the top.
Joe?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm based on what I'm looking at here. We've got a 66-foot right of way, but 22 feet paved, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so in the future, if something happened and there was a desire either by the town or whoever to widen that paved space, that becomes a possibility. And then we addressed the steep grade on Irwin's Way already and how that'll be handled. The only other thing I would note is the land up to the north, where Irwin's Way kind of terminates. I mean, right now there's a cul-de-sac there, but at some point, if that were to connect, that road's actually going to have to cross 2 separate parcels. So I'm a little bit concerned about how that would occur, but that's not really for us to determine.
All right. Thank you,
That was it.
Joe. Brian, Chris?
Yeah, I'm gonna go off the premises as a typical rural cross section, so you're probably gonna have ditches on either side. The reality is if a car is parking there and they're using the shoulder, as long as the shoulder doesn't get landed or seated in at a later date, you know, they're only taking up maybe 3 to 4 feet of the roadway. So from a fire access, there will be at least a one-way route in and out, as long as those cul-de-sacs are designed big enough. I would think there'd be sufficient room there. You know, we're talking about isolated potential incidents where there's certain parties or events that are going to crowd these streets, but I'm not overly concerned that with 22 lots here that there's going to be so much congestion on these 2 streets it's going to block fire. You know, 1 in a million, 1 in 100,000, whatever it might be. The other thing, if you can go a little lower there on the intersection improvement, I'm assuming that went through the DOT. That's I don't know what type intersection that is, but it looks like there's some intersection improvements there.
Yes.
Yeah, and the actual final design of the intersection is in process now. But yeah, the expectation though, there's a pull-off lane and an acceleration lane on either side of the intersection.
Okay, so they'll have like a maybe not a full deceleration lane, but something of that effect in there.
Yeah.
Okay. And was that, did you have traffic to go through some traffic counts and whatnot there?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that was done a couple of years ago, and they're just, when we first met with the DOT to get their blessing, for this intersection, they were very pleased that we're able to take 3 driveways out. And because we had proposed going further west with the connection to avoid the steepest part of the slope with the road going up. And they said, no, we really want it to be right straight across from Kingsley so that that's a full intersection and not have another intersection within about 400 or 500 feet. So they wanted it this way as long as we would agree to take 2 additional driveways out, which we did.
Okay. And you said that the actual intersection type was still to be determined, but it's going to be an improved intersection.
Yes.
All right. I have no other questions.
Chris?
Thank you for including me. I will actually be recusing myself from this topic tonight. Thank you.
All right. Has everyone had a chance to ask their questions? Yeah. I had the same concerns about fire access. I feel like we've discussed it adequately, and from what it sounds like, I assume Chief and Brian have fully weighed in, and that their concerns will be taken into consideration.
And
Any
Chris,
other-
and I do have,
ahead.
I asked this under the idea that we don't have to go through all the conditions, but was there any highlighted conditions that the town of Springfield had gone through that might be pertinent to our decision here or discussion that would be worthwhile mentioning? Because ultimately, this is a town of Springfield development,
It
right?
is.
So it's rural development. We're getting an opportunity to weigh in on it. Is there anything that's
Well,
noteworthy?
a couple of things that they brought up at the time of the review was a couple of driveway access issues on a couple of the lots, and we've already addressed them on this plat update. So they've already been addressed on this revision. We expanded lot 4 to get an area on the north side of lot 4, that large wooded lot you see. Yeah. So we expanded the north boundary of that lot to allow a driveway on a flatter area off the slope to connect. Yep. And then the flag for lots 2 and 3 on the bottom where the existing buildings are, they wanted the driveway for lot 3 to not be an easement from lot 2. They wanted lot 3 to own that parcel of ground. Yes, where you're showing cursor. So we made that change as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I guess I just had 2 as a follow-up. I feel like we have addressed the fire, although I don't know if staff just wants to quickly weigh in. I don't think we gave fire exactly what they wanted. But I think we've addressed it, and again, this is while they're responsible for that piece, it is a town subdivision. Lauren, am I wrong on that, or?
No, I think when we met with them, there was a recognition that there's not a perfect solution here. I mean, well, the perfect solution would be not having a dead end, and that, the applicant has spent years trying to resolve that and has not been able to. I think the parking item was a good one. I did want to clarify with the applicant. I read in the deed restrictions that it was 24-hour parking for large vehicles. What about just normal vehicles? No, I thought it was just large, like trailers and such.
Boats and campers, I think it said all those things,
Yep.
right? Yeah. So standard parking is allowed on the road, just not for more than 24 hours. Is that the understanding?
Yeah. Go ahead.
standard parking, meaning like your kid's first Camry or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
I could possibly see that. I live in a very similar neighborhood to this, and we just don't have these issues of cars parking in the streets for a long period of time. With the sizes of these homes and the lengths of these driveways.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I mean,
so with
the only clarification is that there could be long-term parking of small vehicles based off of the draft deed restrictions.
It doesn't sound like small vehicles. I mean, it's not very well defined. There are lots of big 150 trucks that are humongous.
Right.
That people own, a lot of guys
Yeah,
own.
I guess as I say, personal vehicles, not trailers
Commercial.
or recreation.
Not commercial vehicles.
I guess with that,
Yeah.
to me, I think we've addressed it. I don't think it's
Mhm.
perfect. But where I was going with that is I think we move forward. As long as staff feels like the fire department's not gonna be pissed that we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, there
address
is,
it from that perspective.
I'm sorry, it does say in 3.14, no cars or other vehicles shall be parked on lawns, yards, or ditch areas at any time. So street, yes, ditch, no. Am I reading that correctly?
You're reading it correctly.
Okay.
That's how I interpreted it too.
Yeah.
And I think Brian, like Brian said, it's not all the time, and I know fire department isn't here to speak on their behalf. I'm comfortable moving forward. I guess I just wanted to address the fact that I do think all of us think that's an issue, and fire brought it up.
Yeah.
And we've acknowledged it, and I don't know, said our piece at this point. It's not ideal.
We are trying to give Brian a training burn on one of the structures on the property, so I can't fully commit to that yet, but we're hoping we're gonna be able to use one of the residences for a training burn for the fire department.
Cool.
All right.
I guess then, Kristen, my just one other question is that I know there were concerns on the 12% slopes. I think we let that go too, from that perspective. But the only big thing was our recommendation should be based on that the town has finished the successful rezoning,
Mhm.
and that's not done yet, correct?
Lauren, has
Lauren, I
that
don't
been
know.
done? Do you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, I'll make that motion. I just wanted to highlight, I know that those were the concerns. I think we can't really change the street connectivity. I'm not, the 12%, they'll meet Dane County standards when they have to. But then approve with recognizing that successful rezoning needs to happen.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thanks for coming in
you.
today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, next item on the agenda, let me get all the way back up to the top here, is discuss and take action on a rezoning for 1201 South Division Street, and this is for final action by Village Board.
I think you might have read the wrong one, Kristen,
Wait,
unless I misheard you.
oh, no, you're right. I'm wrong. Discuss and take action on certified survey map and specific implementation application for the Village Early Childhood Center on Simon Crest Way. My
All right.
bad, I was looking at number 3 on the minutes.
Oh, no,
so,
you're good.
last time, so.
All right, so this is pertaining to a property in the Kilkenny Farms Commercial District. So it's 2 items before you today. One is a CSM to subdivide a lot into 2 lots. I have the lot in question here highlighted that will be part of the SIP. So that's a specific implementation plan to construct a new 13,000 square foot daycare facility. So just to clarify, you are recommending today to the Joint Plan Commission and the Village Board. So the JPC will review both the CSM and the SIP and then the village board will be the ultimate approving authority on the CSM. It's kind of a complex process. So we'll start with the specific implementation plan. Here is the site plan. You can see in the purple area, that's the daycare building itself. And then the green area is an outdoor play yard that's fenced in completely. Access to this daycare facility is off of Simon Crestway, so no access from Highway Q at all. They provide a parking lot with adequate parking spaces as well as some circulation around for drop off and pickup. One note that I'll get to a little bit later in the planning comments, there is a pedestrian access sidewalk you'll see that runs kind of along the parking lot here. One of the recommendations is to actually move that sidewalk further south so that there are less conflict points, especially right here. Just concern about any conflicts with people driving through the parking lot and pedestrians. Here are some elevations of the building. So you can see the front entrance area is a covered area. And then this west perspective is the back of the building where the play area is. And then if I go to the next southwest perspective, you can see this is looking at it from the south. So you can see the doors to the fenced in player area from the building. So a couple comments from planning. The first one is the one I mentioned earlier, which is potentially finding an alternative alignment of the pedestrian access to reduce conflict points, or at least include some highly visible signage to identify points of intersection. The second comment has to do with a greater degree of differentiation in exterior materials to have a more pronounced color contrast. For example, including a darker shingle color to create more contrast. I'll just go back to the elevation. We kind of noted that there's kind of varying colors of grayish bluish. And so the idea of potentially making one of those a darker color or a lighter color to help provide a little bit more differentiation, we thought would be a nice touch. Additionally, sign plan was not included in this packet, so we just recognize that we'll need to come back to community development as part of the sign permit process. And then finally, we do recommend that there's 30 arborvitae in the landscape plan that are actually in the easement area. And I think I actually have that plan here. So just wanted to point that out, that here are the arborvitae. We recommend either removing that from the landscape plan or moving them somewhere else on the site. We've already worked through items related to the fence being in the sanitary easement, and we worked through a solution on that.
Yeah, we don't have that.
And so really the only item is that we don't want to deal with 30 arborvitae when we need to address a sanitary issue in the easement. And let's see. So I think I did not include the CSM here in the material. So I can pull that up as well. But it's pretty straightforward, just splitting the lot into two. But I think I will turn it back over to the Plan Commission and pull that up as well.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. What questions or comments do we have? Melissa?
Yeah, I just had two questions. The color recommendation, Lauren, does that tie to some sort of planning that we have for colors and within the corridor, like a corridor plan or something like that? Or is that just I'm just wondering if we should be making that request. Is it more just to be pretty? And then I guess my question would be, how easy is that for them from that perspective, from a cost perspective, if they could answer that?
Yeah, there's no plan that we're drawing from. This is simply an aesthetic choice. So if Plan Commission disagrees with that that's definitely okay too, but wanted to put it out there as an option that the applicant
Yeah.
can consider.
No, I don't necessarily care, especially if there's no cost and they haven't, if they can make a change. I know we've done it on other projects and buildings, so I think it's a good recommendation from staff. So that would be my one question just for them is, could they make that color change easily? I assume they haven't, bought the materials already. That's question one. And then I have one other one. Are they on that they could address that answer?
They should be. If you guys are on, could you raise your hand and Austin will let you in? There's Maria.
I agree. It does seem a little like I wouldn't mind the color change.
Maria or Jason, you can unmute and
Yeah, this is Jason. Can you hear me at this point?
yep.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, the color comment, I think unfortunately anytime you put something on a plan, it's not exact, right? So what you're looking at on your screens right now is not exact colors that will be there. They're close, but on my screen I'm looking at, and I was going to bring these today in person if we were meeting. The actual trim color is it's a light gray, almost to a white. So those will really pop out at the windows and at those eaves. You can see we've done some little bit of architectural flair in all the gable ends to bring some of that out. And then the main color of the siding is more of a medium blue. So not a real dark blue, not a light blue. So there actually is a good contrast. The rendering doesn't quite show that. And then the roof system that we're just right now we're looking at is a cobblestone gray. So it's actually got some white in it. So it actually is more contrasting where it's pulling some light colors out of the trim and some darker colors out of the blue and the grays. And then of course the stone, we haven't really picked one yet there, but that stone we were looking at is something that's either going to offset darker or offset lighter, one or the other. So it's going to be a good contrast at all the stone areas. And then you can certainly see on the back of the building, those two gables, that's a white. So that's going to jump those gables out. One of those gables goes into classrooms. The other ones go into like a gymnasium type area or a gross motor room. And then the front entry also has a contrast where we're going to have some exposed timber look. So again, that's another contrast at that front. And then this rendering also doesn't show all of the landscaping that's on, I'll call it foundation landscaping up against the building that again will bring another color, right? You're going to get some greens and some flowers and stuff like that on that as well. So that's in regards to the color comment. As far as the sidewalk comment, Maria and I talked about it. I don't think it's an issue if we move that sidewalk down to the south side. It was more of a dual purpose sidewalk where we have it because it works for everybody exiting their parking stalls. From a safety standpoint, those main stalls can get right onto a sidewalk and then come to the building versus going back into the parking lot. If we move that sidewalk to the south side of the drive lane, everybody in the main parking lot is going to have to go behind their car now into the drive lane and back over to get across, unless we add a whole nother secondary sidewalk, which seems, unneeded to have two sidewalks going to the same location. But Maria's, it's okay with either location. It's just, it was put on the parking lot to serve a dual purpose. And most of the time the walking isn't going to coincide with the busiest times. We foresee that sidewalk being used more during the day with the teachers taking kids on walks or elsewhere, not necessarily pick up and drop off times for parents. So we can certainly sign it, can certainly put a couple little stop signs there and some, look both ways and some different signage that can help at that driveway crossing for sure.
Yeah, I would piggyback off that, Jason, just that if there were a choice, I would like to keep the sidewalk where it is because of the parking lot, but put signage across where the driveway comes through in any capacity, just because I see that parking lot as a zone that would have more likely to be an issue than on the south side.
Yeah, I guess my comment on that one would be in a perfect world, you'd have both sidewalks, especially if people were pulling over in that lane and doing any drop-offs and getting their kids out. I would leave that to staff potentially, but I agree. I wouldn't I wouldn't necessarily remove it from the parking lot. I think the thought, or at least my thought in the recommendation, was we'd have a second sidewalk that would go out from the sidewalk, and it would, Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, but ideally it would kind of probably run as like a sidewalk immediately adjacent to that drop-off path. So if you were hopping out of a car in that drop-off path, you could walk into. So I guess I'd want staff to weigh in if you are not comfortable in having the two sidewalks there. You know, are we okay with leaving the one where it is? But I guess my vision was there would have been two. You wouldn't remove the one from the parking lot, I guess. Lauren, do you have any comments on that?
And I think, Maria, correct if I'm wrong, but the drop-off lane is the only drop-off that happens and stops is at the covered vestibule.
Door.
The rest of the way is only an exit. It's one kid getting out at a time. Maria, correct me if I'm wrong with that, but they're not supposed to stop in that lane. That's just an exit.
You're correct. No, that would just be a few spots with some real strict signage. That's 5-minute parking only to drop off and drop off kiddos or pick them up.
And yeah, just to clarify the additional path, yeah, Melissa, I think it would make most sense to have two paths, and you could even, you know, kind of remove this sidewalk area here and just kind of have a connection to the south that would connect up to the entrance. I think, you know, two sidewalks would be good, but the Plan Commission can also consider, you know, signage, as they mentioned here, like a stop sign or something like that, that signify, you know, crosswalk, make sure that it's a safe crossing there.
Yeah, I hate putting more restrictions on you, and very appreciative, and clearly there's a huge need for daycare and all that. I get a little more sensitive when it comes to kiddos. So if I had my way, I'd love to see the two sidewalks. I also just think if you are allowing any 5-minute parking, it'd still be nice to have a sidewalk that people could walk to along that drop off. If there's 5-minute parking, then they're just walking in the grass that's there. I don't know. So that'd be my one. I do have one other question. But depending on how other plan commissioners feel, I would prefer the second sidewalk. Understand that creates an expense. I would also agree with eliminating that small portion, like Lauren had noted. And then can I just sit on my second quick question?
Yeah, ask or sit on it, whichever you prefer.
The arborvitaes, I mean, I assume those are needed for landscaping points, so they can't just remove them. They still will have to find another place to make. I know there's some cool landscaping happening, but I assume they created a nice buffer. Maybe they can't be put inside of the fence, but I do assume they're needed for points. Is that a fair assumption, Lauren?
That's a good point. I didn't double check their landscape points. Jason, do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, we are way over landscaped. I mean, by 8 times or something. It's ridiculous, the amount of landscaping. So no, they're not required for the points. They were originally there because the fence was further south, and there was some concern regarding buffering that's parking lot that's directly to the south, the neighboring lot. Yeah, right there. Now our fence is along, you know, much further up to the north, so that buffer isn't as necessary, and the recommendation to move them for future maintenance, of course, is the reason to move them, but they're not needed for points. I think if you maybe were able to zoom in down on the lower left, you'll see the points required and points needed.
Yeah, I was trying to do that too, and I was like, well, I see that you're over, but if you remove all the arborvitaes, does the math still work?
I think it's 700 points needed or 7 something, and it's 2,500 given.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I didn't know if those were the higher amounts.
4 times, I guess, almost.
Yeah. So I'm fine with removing those as long as they meet the points. So that was my other comment. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Melissa. Brian.
I guess first one I had was this is called the Village, and I just want to make sure I'm clarifying this is not Village Waunakee. This is just the name of the daycare.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. As far as the colors of the building, I'm good with the combinations that were mentioned. With the sidewalk, I'm assuming the age of this. Is there an age range of children that will be here?
We can accommodate 6 weeks to 12 years old, but the vast majority of our day-to-day business is 0 to 5.
Yeah, and I would gather that the vast majority of them, especially in this location, are probably going to be drop off rather than walk up.
Correct. Even in our current location, the vast majority is driving, not walking.
Sure, and that makes sense. I mean, I see how they do it at the schools, and everybody drops off there too. So, with that in mind, I'm not overly concerned about the sidewalk as it currently shows on the plan. I would leave it up to the owners for future consideration if they start to see significant walk up, drop off, or however you want to call it, that maybe they consider a sidewalk that runs along the south side of that drop off lane, so to speak, to connect out to the public sidewalk. But otherwise, I'm not too concerned about the way it lays out right now, especially with the signing and stuff that they talked about. So I think that is all I have for now.
Right. Other comments? Sue,
Yeah,
Mike, Joe? Go
I'll
ahead,
pop
Joe.
in.
Yeah.
So I would agree with basically everything that's been said. I think the secondary sidewalk to the south, if it makes sense based on way traffic actually flows through there and the way drop off actually occurs in the future, I think that's something that to be considered. If it's literally vehicles coming in, dropping real quick and continuing on their way, it may not be necessary. From the sidewalk standpoint itself, though, the one that actually runs on the south side of the parking lot at the moment, I'm wondering if it would be feasible to move where it kind of crosses that last piece over to the east and kind of have it go at a 45-degree angle across there. What I'm thinking is as vehicles are leaving, it almost becomes a little bit blind because you don't see that until you've actually made that turn. Whereas if it's at a 45-degree angle, it's a little more visible to cars that are coming through there. So just from a safety standpoint, I think that might be kind of a reasonable, I guess, midpoint. The only other thing that I would note is it certainly appears that we're sharing the entry and exit space here. And is that documented in, I guess, whatever stuff we've got here? I didn't particularly notice it, but I didn't go back and look either.
Yes, it's in the CSM. Which is in here. At least I thought it was. Oh, here we go.
Here.
Yep, so there's a joint driveway easement on.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Yeah, then all is well.
All right. Other comments? Sue, Mike? Mike, you've unmiked?
Sure. I actually thought Joe does a really good idea of Joe's doing a 45 on that sidewalk. Ideally, it'd be best to have, like everybody's been saying, I agree, to have a second sidewalk to the south there. But at least if we could do something like that to maybe improve visibility. Otherwise, I'm good with the colors as it's been described compared to what the pictures show. I'm good.
All right. Thank you. Sue?
Yeah, I hate to see him have to build two sidewalks because those are expensive. So that getting to the arborvitae might help reduce some cost, and I'm lost on the directions on here. This is so small on my screen, I can't see what's north, south, east, west, but so below lot 1, is that, I guess it's not, my internet connection is now, I can see, now I see, okay. I don't think you're gonna have that much traffic, pedestrian traffic. Parents aren't gonna walk their kids. Maybe they might, but typically they don't because they're on their way to work because they're in daycare. So I hate to have them do that. I'm glad to see or hear about the design changes because I like to see that our buildings are built so that they look good, and having comments on that I think is appropriate. So it sounded like you were doing things that would provide contrast, which I was happy to see.
All right, Chris.
Once again, I have to recuse on this one. Thank you.
Okay. No worries. No worries. Yeah, no comments from me. I think everything that I was thinking about has been addressed. A second sidewalk is nice, but I understand the expense of it. I do like the suggestion for the 45-degree angle. Lauren, do you feel that all of your concerns have been addressed?
Yes, yep.
All right. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve for the discussion.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Can I just
Seeing-
clarify, so we're not requiring the 45-degree angle sidewalk, or?
Maria, I don't think we don't mind that. Cost wise, it doesn't do anything, and if it provides more safety, I'm not against it for construction purposes. But Maria, that's not a problem to you, is it?
No, it sounds good to me.
Okay.
So moved.
All right.
Or add it to the motion. How's that?
And Melissa, you accept?
Yep.
All right. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstention for Chris.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. Look forward
Thank
to this
you.
opening up. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see here, all the way up to the top again. And let's see, discuss and take action on rezoning and general development plan for 801 South Klein Drive and 2 Manor Drive for final action by the village board.
All right. So this is the Wanakee Senior Living Facility off of South Holiday Drive. As you can see, I have the full campus highlighted here, but it's actually, if I go to the next slide, it's 2 separate parcels currently. So the owners of Wanakee Senior Living submitted a site plan to the village for future improvements, mostly internal, but I'll go over some of the kind of broad details of the project, and that will actually come back to the Plan Commission at a future meeting. But as part of the staff's review, we realized that these 2 parcels are zoned differently, which makes for some difficultness in reviewing the site plan. So the northern portion is zoned R5 for multifamily residential, and then the southern is zoned R3 for 2-family residential. Staff would recommend actually combining those parcels so that we can treat it as a campus. There's, access roads that kind of cross both parcels, and so it just makes more sense to review the site as a more cohesive campus than separately. And then we also recommend rezoning to PUD, which allows for a little bit more flexibility with zoning regulations. And so why PUD? As I said, it allows for greater flexibility in our current zoning districts. It allows for us to combine the 2 parcels for that one campus. It also allows us to specifically state nursing home and assisted living center as a permitted use. Right now, it's listed as a conditional use, and so anytime they need to go, make a minor change to the campus, they would have to go through a CUP process, and so this would make it a permitted use for the campus. And then finally, we can list out zoning district regulations through the General Development Plan, or GDP. So that's really the guiding document for putting together our recommended regulations for the zoning district. So the applicant provided a proposed GDP. It's pretty simple. It really just adopts the R3 and R5 zoning district and then makes some modifications. So the permitted uses would match the R3 and R5, but it would add nursing homes and assisted living centers as a permitted use. And then vice versa, it would remove the nursing homes and assisted living centers from the conditional use list of R3 and R5. Additionally, it would add 1 covered carport in the permitted accessory uses, otherwise would match R3 and R5. And then the additional changes that they made as part of this GDP would be increasing the maximum building height from 15 to 20 feet. They would remove the minimum lot area and width requirement, which makes sense for a campus like this. And then they would maintain the minimum green area requirement of 30% that's currently in the R5 district. So this is kind of a zoomed out picture of their site plan, which, as I mentioned, will come back at the March meeting. But it is useful to just take a look at what they're planning as part of the kind of GDP process. So really not a lot of major changes from the building itself. Most of the work is being done internally in the building. And the applicant is on the call and they can help clarify some of that as well. But most of the changes have to do with exterior improvements, some changing of kind of configurations within the building. The footprint is still staying the same. And they are doing some work on the parking lot and adding paths throughout the campus as well. And so that will also be part of the site plan application. So staff do recommend approval of the rezoning and GDP. The next steps would be that the rezoning and GDP would go to village board for public hearing. And then, as I mentioned, back in March, we'll take back the site plan application for you all to review. And with that, maybe I'll turn it over to the applicant and they can add any additional info they'd like to mention. And if you're on, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll let you in.
I think Jenny DeChance hand is
Yep.
raised.
Hi, Jenny.
Yeah. Hi, Lauren. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Deckett. I'm with Erdman. We're the architecture and engineering company that's been working with Trilogy Health Services as they look at redeveloping a portion of the site. So yeah, Lauren, you summed it up really well. We're not looking to make any major changes to what you see today. The entire building, we're wanting to get a refresh to anything you see on the exterior. So we are going to be doing a little bit of updates to roofing and siding. And then Lauren did mention some reconfigurations. So really in the middle of the building where you're seeing those courtyards that we've got going on, that's where most of the major construction work is being undertaken to reconfigure the skilled nursing home wings within there. We did gain a little bit of parking space along the Klein Drive entry area as well. That's kind of with the reconfiguring of the wings, we were able to get much nicer area for staff and visitor parking and for parking closer to the memory care area of the building as well. So we are also proposing to add a new covered drop-off at the Manor Drive entrance. So that's the shared access aisle that you're seeing kind of along the south of the site. So we're intending to be directing visitors and residents to that Manor Drive area with the new entry lobby and covered drop-off drive there. But otherwise, we're not making any real substantial changes to the site. We're maintaining the existing access points. We are going to be updating the stormwater management areas on the site to help handle any of the new pavement that we're putting in place. And then Lauren did mention that we're adding kind of like a walking circuit throughout the site for resident use. So a lot more walking paths throughout the site. We are looking at adding in a walking path along the north of the site as well. So this is sort of informally being used by the community. It's just a lawn area right now. So we are proposing to put in a 5-foot paved walking path to help with that connection between Klein and Holiday Drive.
All right. Thank you, Jenny. Commissioners, Joe, you unmuted?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Let's see here, is Manor Drive currently, I'm assuming, private? And is it staying that way?
Yes, it's currently a private drive. So the two sites share an access agreement for it. So we're going to maintain it. We are proposing to enlarge it as well. Right now, it's just a little shy of what we'd want to be seeing for a fire access drive. So we are looking to widen it slightly. I think it's at between 21 and 22 feet right now. And we're proposing to increase that to 24 feet wide.
Okay, that's a good thing. And then the only other thing, let's see. I had something and for whatever reason, I didn't make a note of it. Oh, I know what it was. The height, going up to 20 feet. Is that sufficient?
So the height Up to 20 feet. We had actually asked for that to be the accessory structure approved height. And so that would be for future carport that we would be looking at adding along Manor Drive area. So we'd be maintaining the current, we're not going to be increasing any of the current building heights that you're seeing today. That would be just for the accessory structure.
Okay, that's
Got it.
perfect.
Jenny, what's
That's
the height of the existing building?
It varies depending on where you're at. I think it's up to 47 feet right now if you're down at that Manor Drive level. Because there we've got a little bit of exposure at the ground level as well as a second story.
Other comments or questions? And feel free to just unmute and ask.
Well, Lauren, this, what you've got up on the screen right now, the proposed GDP, these are items that would be listed in that, or are they phrased in a certain manner that this is kind of a summary?
This is a summary.
So can you explain to me, so the first bullet point says permitted uses would match the current zoning, which is R3 and R5, and add nursing homes and assisted living centers. So that's not in the current, as it's currently zoned?
Correct. It's not listed as a permitted use in those zoning districts.
But it was zoned that and constructed at some point many, many years ago. Or did the
Correct.
zoning change after it was built?
Yeah, we're not exactly sure why it was never rezoned or gotten a conditional use permit. We couldn't find one in the records. It
Okay.
might have just been a thing back in the day that was allowed and they didn't figure out the zoning piece of it.
All right, so this is a little bit of a cleanup on that as well. And then the second bullet point here, conditional uses would match R3, R5. That I'm assuming would be the current conditional uses required in those zoning categories.
Correct.
And remove nursing homes and assisted living centers. So that means you wouldn't go for a conditional use for nursing homes and assisted living centers because they would be a permitted use already then?
That's correct.
Okay. And permitted accessory uses would match the R3, R5 and add one covered carport. That's what Jenny was probably discussing, right?
Yep.
And that height would be up to 20 feet, but it does not apply to the building.
Right. Yeah, I should clarify that that should be accessory.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm assuming there's setbacks that would be part of this, even though it's already pretty much developed.
Yep, I'm forgetting now. Jenny, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the setbacks match the existing district.
No, for sure the R3 does. I believe there may be a small encroachment for the R5 along the north. Let me see.
And if you can go to the site plan, Lauren. And the reason I asked that about setbacks and whatnot is, and never say never, I guess, looking at these four individual, I guess they're called 2-family development units. I'm not sure what that southeast corner looks like, but is that something that, could something additional get put in there just so we make sure that whatever requirements we desire that, in case something would have happened there from a development perspective.
I believe that's where the stormwater pond is going to be.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, there's currently a stormwater management area in that corner.
Okay.
So that we'll be working within that corner to improve it.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think the only area that we're not currently fully meeting setbacks for would be the side yard of the principal building within the R5 district. So that I'm not quite sure what we would consider the side yard on a site like this. That may be it may apply to along the north side of the site. And it's an existing setback right now. So we would not be going any further than the bounds of the existing setbacks that are currently there on the site right now.
Yeah, is that faint dash line potentially? That runs along the north side there or not?
Oh, you mean like this line here?
Yeah, yeah.
Jenny, do you know what that line is?
Actually, that faint dash line, that is the ATC easement that runs along the site right now. So yeah, the existing building, I believe, was there before some of this had gone on. So there's just a small encroachment into that easement.
Okay. Yeah, just a couple of cleanups or clarifications on the notes there. So, thank you.
All right. Other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda, joint plan.
Yep, so we have a meeting tomorrow night to review the CSM and SIP for the daycare facility that you just looked at. And then we actually rescheduled the meeting to review the solar project. That is actually going to be February 23rd. That's a Monday at 5:30. The reason we rescheduled that item is we received a new site plan for the project, and so staff wanted some additional time to look at that. We also wanted to make sure we'd have enough JPC members at the meeting. So that's what's going on with JPC.
So I'm sure that's been changed in the notice. Has Kaylin put anything on social about that? Because I under the impression that a lot of people will potentially be there tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah, we're in the process of getting the word out. I will definitely talk to Kaylin about getting something on our social media or website. But we did reach out to some of the neighbors who are disseminating the word.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
When can we assume?
I
we'll
lost
see
you a
the-
minute there, Lauren, but it seems to me like they're all showing up tomorrow.
It does seem like they're showing up tomorrow.
Well, a lot of communication going on here today.
Okay. Yeah, I did share with kind of the leader of the group, but I will make sure to continue to work on getting the word out on that.
Okay.
I just had a question. When will we see the new, for those of us that are on the Joint Plan Commission, Lauren, what's the timing on seeing the new? I assume a week before-ish, or?
Yeah, I guess
Yes.
I could send it out sooner if you guys want to look at it ahead of time. Yep, I'll email that out.
Please do.
Yep.
And Kristen, I just wanted to say that I know we're not talking or voting on this, but for those of us that are on Joint Plan Commission, the Village of West, or the Town of Westport's Plan Commission did make a motion about this, which I think was not appropriate, but just wanted everyone who's on our Plan Commission to know that, you know, we have not talked about or discussed this specific site or item, and I don't think we should. I think it can leave it at the joint because there's enough going on, but
yeah,
it's been interesting.
Yeah. The village board initially entertained the proposal and made the decision. I made the decision and staff made the decision that it was more appropriate at the Joint Plan Commission. You know, given the location and the potential for that parcel to someday become part of Westport. So yeah, I certainly did see that from the Westport and had the same reaction. That there is, you know, there's a reason we've set things up the way that they are between the two communities, and it's good and important to respect that. Yeah. So, all right. Any other comments or questions or last hurrahs? Seeing
Motion
none?
to adjourn.
Thank you. All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
I would say we can all hang out longer.
Yeah.
So, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We'll see you all, and Melissa, I'll give you a ring.